Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. We have people are going to be trickling in since we literally just went live. Right now, I'm here with Alex. Alex, what team are you on in Gridiron?
So yeah, right now I'm on the functional software engineer team. So basically what I do is make sure all the components are working and any functions that we add in, I just handle the functionality.
Right. So you're part of our front end engineering team.
Yes.
We call yourselves the Wizards. I forget what your your nickname is.
Uh oh, pod software sorcerers.
Software sorcerers. There we go. There we go. We'll be joined by Jason Torres here in a little bit. He's on his way home, and maybe some other Gridiron folks will join us. First of all, though, we wanted to go through and thank our sponsors. First, I'll start with AppRight. AppRight is a backend as a service that we're using in our Gridiron Survivor app that just allows us to have user authentication, whether it's password, email password, magic URLs. It also lets you connect with your users of the app just via their backend. It's really powerful, really, I don't know, it's been pretty easy to work with thus far. For the most part, we enjoy it. Next, we're sponsored by Front End Mentor. Front End Mentor is something that, oh, and you know what? I should show these too. Front-end mentor is something that really appeals to me because I like designing things and building up good-looking UIs. So front-end mentor is literally just used to improve your coding skills, as it says right on the homepage. They'll provide you with basically like a study or a use case, and you have to go ahead and build it out as truthful as you can. It's been really helpful for my brother. He's learning front end web development, and he's just really enjoyed using front end mentor for that reason. Alex, why don't you talk about Get Kraken for
Get
us? And
Kraken. Yes. So Get Kraken is basically a software company that provides a suite of tools to help developers collaborate and be more productive. So if you're a developer, you may be familiar with Git Bash or the manual Git where you have to manually type out everything and remember how to do it. But with Git Kraken, it's just as simple as downloading it and linking it up to your GitHub. And just with a few simple clicks, you can clone your repositories, you can clone a branch, you can create a branch off of issues, and you can even switch branches with just a few simple clicks. So it's super easy. You don't have to remember how to manually type everything out, and it makes things super quick. So that way you have more time to focus on code than trying to figure out how to upload everything to GitHub and
yeah,
handle it.
I've
Yeah.
enjoyed using Get Kraken as a GUI. Just earlier, actually, I there was a bug fix that I had to put in that I figured out late last night, and I had started working on it one branch, and I was able to easily use GitKraken to stash those changes, and then I could easily just with like two clicks cherry pick that change I wanted to merge directly into our. Well, I had to make a branch for it, but into a new branch. Merge that into a develop branch, and then the bug went away for everyone. So, thank you, GitKraken, for sponsoring us. Definitely a powerful tool. And lastly, we're sponsored by Pastel. Pastel basically lets you use a live URL as a whiteboard, and you can comment on it, draw on it, take screenshots, whatever you want in a collaborative nature. So I've used this with Shashi actually in his portfolio reviews, which is something I miss. It's something that I really enjoyed, and whether he makes time for it or maybe I'll start making time for it, it's a really good time. So Pastel would allow us to visit that person's website directly in the app, and then we could make comments. We could go ahead and draw maybe, hey, we like this in a different place than that, and stuff like that. So Pastel is really powerful. It's obviously geared or targeted towards marketing, but definitely developers, designers, and I think cross-functional teams could really benefit from it. So thank you to our sponsors, AppRight, Fronted Mentor, GitKraken, and Pastel for sponsoring. So yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about just what maybe we've done in this past week. I know we just had a call last week, last Thursday. We went over our previous sprint, and we also went over our buck bash, I should say, and we did a group retrospective, right? So, what do you think of the
Yes.
retrospective?
I I loved it. Like it definitely gives us the visual of what we did well, what we need to work on, and actions that we needed because it definitely like set us up for future success.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was here. I'll zoom in for y'all. I thought it was definitely a new thing for me, and that's never a bad
Yes.
thing. I think that's part of why we're part of Gridiron, so we can learn these tools and routines that are part of a workforce. Whether every workforce does these, obviously it all depends. But I thought it was really powerful, just to see what's went well and everything like that. So I really liked it. I'm looking forward to doing more of these in the future. And the bug bash I thought was very uh, good as well. Actually, speaking of the bug bash, I'll pull up our sprint board here and I'll go dark mode for the people because that's what the people like. Um, so let's just search by bug. Um, looks like
We got
Actually, it
quite a
looks like
bit
people have
done.
been doing a good amount of them, huh? That's pretty good. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah, if you want to, we can kind of talk about like some of the bugs, and then we can kind of go through.
Yeah, sure. You want me to pull up the site?
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, I'll sign out real quick. All right. So, this one is still got to be fixed. It's on Jennifer's to-do list, which is our lack of input. It's a very simple fix that I asked to take on, and Shashi said no. This is assigned to someone else. Cool your jets, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a big thing I'm learning too is staying in the scope of my task because sometimes I'm like, oh, like I want to do this, but it's like, no, stick to your task, get that done, and then move on.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. So obviously, first one that we just saw there was the lack of text contrast, and that's a simple thing. There was a before you even jumped on, there was a weird um thing going on, and I finally understand it now. Basically, like the way that we're doing our theming with Tailwind is different than what I'm used to, and when it just looks like that CSS variable that we're using has to be updated, or the just the inputs class has to be updated. Again, super simple fix, but one that I know myself and I'm sure everyone else on the team every time we log in will be grateful for. Um, then I think what was another bug that we had going on? There's still some that need to be fixed,
Um,
right?
I know the one bug that which it's not pushed in to develop just yet. So if you want to log out,
Oh,
it
sure.
might still be an issue. So sign out and then in the URL replace login with register.
hmm I'm currently having a bug where I can't just edit it up there, so I'll have to revisit it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So
annoying.
yeah, I
Go to
can talk
register, you
about it.
said?
Yeah, and then what the bug was, which I don't know. Yeah. So
Yeah.
instead of going to register, so you type in register to register, but it takes you to the login. So I had to go in and fix that to where when you type in register, it actually goes to register.
Now that's odd considering when we visit it with the links like I'm doing right now, it stays there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Now here's a bug. Obviously, again, still has to be fixed. It's only been a week, and we
Mhm.
all work on this asynchronously. Most of us have jobs that we're balancing as well as everything else. But these styles have to match. So this will basically be the same thing. All right, I'll log back in. Always got to highlight it, make sure I'm actually typing in what I mean to. All right, so we're back in here. Things need to be updated. This toast is nice though. Glad to see it in, and it's only a single one. Last time I think we had a duplicate one.
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah. And then in here, I currently have one entry. This needs to be re-updated, but that's okay. So currently, I don't believe we have implemented this yet, but we'll be getting a toast of when this sends the data. So it's like, oh, you picked Ravens or you picked Packers
Mhm.
and so forth. So some more style updates to come on this as well. But I'm looking forward to this page being done. I built out the UX for this page, and we made some changes here or there. This was a challenging little thing, considering I didn't work with the data that we're pulling in, so I had to figure out. Hey, Ryan Hawkins, thank you for joining the stream. Glad to see you here. Um, so not only like grabbing this information, but of course, like, have you ever worked with dates and times in JavaScript?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not great,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, if
Like
there's
the
one thing I've
timestamps
complained
and
about dude, yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, but so it came out pretty well, and, yeah, so this is gonna be a little further updated, but so far it's looking pretty good, and then, obviously, one other thing that we need to do is, again, getting that data from the database set like, right now, a pick was already made, but that's not reflected in this UI, so, actually, I'll pull up our Figma, and we could show the people what it's actually gonna look like. Now I want to can I open it? Yes, thank you. Yeah, so, where are we? Here we go. So this is what the page is supposed to look like. As you can see, people, we have the entries, which is fine. We already have that in. This is there as well. When you make a pick, though, it's supposed to say stay with the border around or the outline. So again, that's something being the data persistence and the style persistence is really what we have to get worked on. And then when you make the pick, this is what I was talking about. So I'll switch back to um, no Figma, go away. I'll switch back to the app. So right now, as you can see, we don't have anything. And this was fixed, but then changes were made, and I just had to cherry pick the changes that I made, I think, to fix it. Um, but as you can see here, when you make a pick, it's going to show that team's logo, and it's going to change the make pick to edit pick, and the color changes because this is like, yeah, this is the only action you could really take on this, but the main action is making a pick, right? It's just like, have you played fantasy football before, Alex, or any fantasy sport?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so I'm sure like, by game time Thursday night,
Mhm.
you have to have
Where
made your
yeah.
set your bench. Yeah, so that's pretty important. And these are just the states that you can see here. So when there's no pick, when they have made a pick, and when it's inactive or eliminated, basically. So if that pick
Mm.
is eliminated from the league, then it gets that treatment. And so we'll keep updating things, but it's coming along pretty nicely. And then the other thing I wanted to show, which is a big focus for this week, is the admin flow, the admin screens. So Shashi and Jason kind of. Speak of the devil. Hello, Jason.
Yeah, hold on.
Hey,
Hello.
Jason.
What's up,
Hello.
guys?
What's up, hello, cool Jason?
Yeah, it's my new clever name. Good to
Real,
see you guys.
you too, man.
What did I miss? It looks like we're 13 minutes in. Give me a Cliff Notes version and keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, man. So we spoke about our sponsors. We spoke a little bit about last week. We went over the sprint retrospective. We just talked about our feelings on it, and then we talked a little bit about the bugs that we've been bashing this week and what's to come.
Yeah. And then
And
now we're kind of going through and showing the admin.
yeah, I wanted to talk about our next big focus. So we went through, what the styles and pages are supposed to look like, and so these will be fixed. So what I started talking about was how yourself and Shashi kind of split the team up, not even split us up, but just assigned a couple of us to getting this admin screen going. That way we can basically work on two different things at the same time, right? So this admin flow is not for us; it's for the league admin. And so they'll have access to seeing their leagues that they're managing, the players in those leagues, and notifications that they want to send to those users. Again, that's part of the AppRight users, I believe. That's how we're going to be implementing it. So uh, I am working on the UX. I'm working on the layout and the components. Chris already created the routing for it, which was a big PR. The routing itself wasn't big, but it was updating everything else, right? Which I know caused a lot of merge conflicts. Our favorite.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. People not that people weren't happy about it, but merge conflicts are like a special kind of joy in life, right? And then that bug that I mentioned that I fixed was due to one path not being updated. So for one of our functions. Like I said, I'm working on the UX and the components of this. So we've got a handful of components, but we also have components that we're reusing, like these leak cards. These are ones that I had previously developed for the screen above. So that'll be easy enough just to carry over. And we'll go on down to the all players, and this is very simply just a table. Thankfully, Shashi has decided to take this one.
Oh, the whole table.
How do we feel about Shashi saying merge conflicts are your best friend who doesn't know it?
It helps prevent future errors. Unless you don't know what you're doing. Then
Well, the best part is, which we've discovered, right, is maybe not merging develop into your current branch, and then we've had two or three counts of that happening. So just today, and it's just something that keeps needing reminding. Merge conflicts, though, it's just another skill that you have to work on, and it just takes, I think, a little bit of knowing your code base, but also having those problem solving skills, which all devs need, right?
yes. Yep.
Yeah. So moving on, Shashi has, like I said, willingly taken on the table creation, which I'm fine with. Believe it or not, it's funny. I was reading an article today, put out and about styling tables with CSS. And I've kind of stayed away from tables only because I know how much of a pain in the behind they can be. Have you had to create any tables in HTML or anything like that yet?
Yeah, sadly, yeah, I have. And like trying to get the spacing and the grid layout.
Yeah, it's not great. Actually, let me go ahead and get that link because it was a good article to read. So Piccadilly is was created originally by Andy Bell, who's a developer in the UK. Now it's from Set Studio, who's his web agency, but more uh, relevant is the styling tables the modern CSS way. I'll go ahead and share this in the chat. I thought it was a good read.
Yeah.
So yeah, that'll be fun. Moving on, we've got here another one of our components. So I'm splitting this up into a few things. One is the logo, which we already have. One is the league card, which we already have. Then we have obviously the layout, which is following this grid sort of thing, right, where we have the persistent sidebar and the rest of the content. Um, we have the side navigation. We have this navigation here, which is it's going to allow the user to sign out and go to settings, things like that. And then we have the admin navigation. We'll touch on that at the end. So you come over to your leagues and you can see here another component. This is just the header. So this is taking in dynamic information that's being passed as props. That's how I'm designing it, at least. The in this case, the title is there, and this is just the description of it, because you can see here that we have this on the weeks, we have it here on the players down below, and the survivors we also have as a component. So you can see this only pops up when you're in a certain league. It'll be useful there. We look here, and here's our little story. So as an admin, I can view all player picks. As an admin, I can edit a player's picks. Again, just kind of helping us make more sense of everything that's going on, because I've never partaken in a Survivor League. Fantasy football, yes. Fantasy F1, a little bit. Not my cup of tea. I love F1, not fantasy F1. So, hey, Diamond Boy, what's going on? And then we have our notifications pane. This will be fleshed out after we dive more into the notifications and stuff. I believe Chris was assigned with kind of looking into that. But I wanted to talk about this. I'm calling it the admin navigation because it looks kind of complex. But here, actually, I'll move this over a little bit more so you could see where it is. So we're talking about this component right over here. And basically, it's just letting them see what leagues they're in as well, allowing them to quickly switch between them, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saving that for last. I just feel like I'm gonna have a hard time with it. I'm not sure why.
Looks like a lot in nesting and
Yeah, and also like then dynamically updating the information on the page accordingly, right? It's all stuff that we've done.
Mhm.
It's just trying to get this all done by the end of the weekend so we can continue to move forward. So I actually we'll go jump back to our sprint board. I have my tickets here. So this is like the main ticket that has everything linked to it, as you can see. I'll zoom in for y'all. And then I assigned points to each of the other ones based on that. So we're getting Jason and trying to join again. I'm confused. We're going to let him in.
got 2 Jasons.
Jason. Jason.
Can you hear me?
I can. There's another one of you, though. Should I remove the other one?
About your concerns about the admin navigation. Can you kind of speak to what you think the issues are going to be that you might have?
Yeah, just really, it seems. I think I'm probably overthinking it, but it just seems more complex than the others.
I think for me, like sometimes when it's difficult, like in your head, you kind of know how to do it, but it's kind of in the sense of like having to shuffle between different files and different code, and you're like, wait, where was I?
Yeah, I don't think it'll actually be too bad realistically. This is just like a persistent thing, and then it'll show the list of leagues, which you could just map over their existing leagues, right? Um, and then when they select a league, this changes to that current league, and then they click it and see the same thing. So I just think it's a little more complex than other navigations. I mean,
I agree to some extent. I think you're overthinking it though, as per the
probably.
usual. Just based on like that layout, that illustration right there of the design. I
Yeah,
mean, you got to remember most of this is probably just also going to be functional side where, it's not the UI UX layout. I think
Yeah,
once you get those drop downs and the routing set, I think it'll be pretty easy. Easier
yeah.
than you're expecting.
Yeah, probably. I think I am overthinking it. Like the UX is typically not something that I'm afraid of diving into. It's everything else. I mean, UX
mm,
there's typically always a way to figure it out, right?
yeah.
Uh, I need to be right back. My brother is locked out of the house.
Oh no.
Yep, excuse me
Freaking
for one
Walter.
moment.
Kind of looking at it like the way I take it is it just looks like state management. Like once you click on this team, it updates the state to that one so that it renders something.
Yeah, and that's why I guess I was wondering from Ryan's perspective, since he is more focused just on the design implementation,
Mhm.
what his hangups were, maybe just like how the layout is supposed to flow or the navigation supposed to flow. Because I know for you specifically, you're going to be dealing more with the front
The
end side and the state management and routes and stuff like that. So
yeah,
I could certainly see why that would be a little bit more complicated because there's also going to have to be levels of access and permissions that are involved based on what accounts are accessing it. So
I
that's
bet.
something that we kind of have to figure out as well. I was talking to Chris about that and how we're going to have to assign permissions per role and how we'll figure out how that gets associated to IDs and stuff.
oh yeah, there's going to be a lot of IDs with this league. With the, I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. Actually, that leads me to a question. Do we know if we have any limits on the amount of people per league right now?
I don't think that we have anything set yet. I'm pretty sure it's unlimited. I'm sure we can put restrictions on it, but I don't think we've ever discussed it. If Shashi's still here, um, maybe he could. I would say realistically, you can't have more than 16, right? because there's 16 teams. Like you can't have doubles each week. So I think a league could
Oh,
be
that's a
maxed
good
out
point. That's a
Yeah.
good
at
point.
that many. But I don't know because I so I have no
Like,
idea.
I just know looking at our database right now for the leagues is whenever we sign up, they get assigned the league, and right now, like, there's no limit. That's why it's at 33 because anytime someone registers, they get auto assigned to this league. And then the limit
Yeah.
is basically the amount of users we can hold in the database, which I think right now is like 200,000 or 20,000.
Yeah, but I think Jason's talking more of like a limit based on the amount of NFL teams there are, right?
Oh yeah.
But that also makes me wonder, like, what if once bye weeks start coming, and for those of that bye weeks are when a play team isn't playing,
hmm
so then what do we do, right? That's just less teams to pick from at that point. So if you have a 16-person league,
Yeah, I don't know how that works. I thought you meant like limits on users per league or players per league.
yes, that's
Um,
what I'm talking about. Like,
yeah,
because I mentioned it to a group of friends the other day that are all into fantasy football. I said, hey, when the time comes, would you be interested into trying this out? Sort of being your beta testers, and they were all for it. But I really still, again, don't know how large of a league we can have.
because see, I would imagine it at least in my head. I'm thinking a league. If I have 30 people sign up, then that I would have to break them into two different leagues so that there's enough teams to pick each week. But I don't know. I feel like that's something we could probably Google. Do you want to Google that right now,
That's
Ryan?
exactly what I was gonna say. Well, let's see how many.
Because I do know for bye
Teams.
weeks, it's only for the specific team. Like there's always going to be teams playing. It's just each team has their own bye week to get like a break.
Yeah, so that's exactly what I was just looking up here. According to Football Network, the number of teams on each bye week varies. It can be as few as two or as many as six. So you're
Well,
talking
look up.
six
Can you
less
look
than.
up how many players or how many teams is in a typical Survivor football league?
Oh, like how many players? Yeah.
Yeah.
So how many team players? How many people?
Yeah, how many people? Because it's not teams, because you have all the teams. It's how many players are in it each week.
Yeah, and this is again just comes from like knowledge that those of us that haven't been in a Survivor League don't have, right? Uh, Players can pick one team per week. They're working Venom.
I genuinely have not felt more dumb this week than not knowing what like what this is.
But like kind of what I'm thinking, I feel like you could have as many as you want because like there's obviously going to be more than one person that may pick the same team, and it's just kind of like if your team survives, you move on kind of thing.
Well,
So
that's the
kind
thing, though, is like, let's say there's 16 games per week in a perfect week where no teams are off. That's a max of 32 selections you can make. But then if you have 6 teams that are off, you're limiting to that down to 26 participants. The number of people in a football team will vary. Blah blah blah. Survivor League involves a group. Yeah, of course we know this already. So we don't know. It's what ChatGPT is telling us.
Yeah, because what if I don't know. If let's say we have 30 people in there, the Bills are playing the Jaguars. All 30 of those teams pick the Bills. Like
Right. Like that's not going to work.
I thought it was like one player gets the Bills. No, because everybody still picks all of the teams, right? So if there's
Yep.
8 games, you pick each. Okay. So I guess you
Yeah.
could have an unlimited amount.
Yeah, so let's say during a bye week there's only 20 teams out of 26 playing. and let's say you have like 40 survivors left, like let's say half of them pick, like there's still a lot of combinations, but some may pick the same teams, which is okay.
Yeah, right here it looks like for Yahoo's their public groups have up to 50 people and private has up to 100. But that still like I still got to ask like let's say 100 people join and you can make up to 3 entries per week, right? That still doesn't leave enough like 100 people on entry 1 can't select only 32 teams to choose from, right?
Yeah, that's confusing because like if all your teams lose, no, that still doesn't make. Yeah, again, this is the gray area. I guess we probably should learn what the hell this is.
Well, have you Googled it before? Like, what is a survivor? There's not like very
No.
clear um
Well,
references.
Here's the other thing too. So like week one, you pick a team for each game and you lose. So what is that? So we'll say you've got 5 games on the screen. If you lose 3 games, are you how are you out?
Well, you're only going to be out like you'll be out from your entry if your selected team loses, right? But I can have multiple picks or multiple entries in a league, and the only time I'm losing in that league is if all my entries lose, to my knowledge, to my understanding.
Yeah.
So you only could pick one. So if you just picked that first game, and your team wins, you play in the next week and you could pick more. Dude,
Correct.
I'll just play regular fantasy. I mean, obviously we're gonna make this, but this is confusing.
See, like to me, a survivor league feels easier to understand what you have to do. I think from the building it and the management standpoint, that's where we're running into like questions, right? But so let's say like you said, there's only one entry in this league. Pretend these ones don't exist. Um, and I chose the Chiefs the first week, and they lost in the first week. Then I'm out. That's it. No more for me. But if we have 2 picks and I choose again the Chiefs in week 1 and entry number 1 I'm out, but if I choose the Ravens and they win, then my second entry moves on and this one becomes inactive.
Oh, well, that makes total sense. Why didn't you just say that?
Hey,
You know.
yeah, that's what I'm getting. Like, you're joining a league, like pretend you're the one person. Each entry is your life. And however much money you like put in to like buy certain amount of lives, you get an entry. And then depending on the week of like however many teams are playing, like there could be 20, there could be 10, depending on the bye week, gives you like the list of options that you get to choose from. Granted, you only get to choose one as the entry.
Right. And again,
Wait,
here's what
so
that would look like.
humor me here.
Mhm.
Sorry to interrupt you. So
No, go
humor
ahead.
me here. Could let's say we only have 7 people in the league, small league. If everybody only has one entry and all the teams they pick lose in the first week, is the season over?
To me, yes. To me, that makes sense because your life, let's call it, like, let's pretend we're playing Mario, right? And each entry, like he said, are your lives.
Mhm.
Like, if I only have one life and I make the wrong pick, I'm done. That's game over, man. But if I have 5 lives, then I can keep trying, right? Week after week.
So everybody could definitely lose week one and the season could be over.
Yes. Now I do know, to my understanding, again, I would wait for Shashi for 100% clarification of that. Um, but I was going to say that I'm blanking here. Oh, some leagues I think let you buy in for an extra entry. Which is
What
just
if we set a
degenerate.
function so that if people have only one entry and they lose, their account gets deleted?
Wow.
I
I
love that. That's
I
like
can
hard
make it.
mode.
Exactly. That really ups the ante a little bit.
If
And then we put a
uh,
paywall in for extra lives.
If
That's the
Survivor
thing.
pool pot is less than this much, get deleted. No.
Yeah, no, so that's the thing. Like, apparently, if you lose all your entries, you can then buy in to get an entry back.
Which it'll be very common because you have a lot of choices, and in a sense, you're like gambling on the choice. Because if you go ahead and click the make pick for that entry one, like you
Mm.
have to choose between like
Well, right now
one
it's
team out of
16.
all of them.
Yeah, you have 32 choices, right? But
Yeah.
then after the first week, you're going to be down to 16 choices, right?
You're saying 16?
Well, because if there's 16 games, right? There's
Mhm.
32 teams,
Yeah,
but
well,
only half of them are going to win the first game. So then the second week, your choices are down to.
oh, okay, yeah,
But
true.
that's if you're in a league of 32
Actually,
people. Because if you're in a league
Well,
of 5 people,
the
you
teams
know,
won't go down because let's say the Chiefs are playing the Ravens this week, and then next week Chiefs play the Packers. Like the Packers,
but they do go down for each player because you
yes, that's
can't
what I'm
pick the
saying.
same team. So like if you pick the Chiefs this week, next week you can't pick them, I think.
Correct. That is correct.
oh,
So
okay, okay,
So that's why, like, it's also, maybe earlier in the season, you don't want to pick, like, I mean, when the Patriots were killer, you wouldn't want to pick them early on because you could bank on them to win, right? But if you knew that you had a good matchup for the Jets to maybe have a chance, then you might pick them because you can wager that earlier on. That's where the knowledge of the game really comes from.
yeah.
But I also feel like this is more fun for more casual people.
Yeah, no, this is definitely going to be a lot easier for people that don't understand fantasy football because fantasy football has a lot that goes into it and research. And this is just as simple as like, oh, I'm gonna pick this team.
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
which kind of reminds me of like the office pool, right? You just like you get the
hmm
sheet and you circle the teams, except next week you can't pick the same team. That's that seems
Yes.
to be it.
Mm.
Yep. Yeah. Which I think is I think it's a cool dynamic, to be completely honest. I think again, it makes it that's the strategy, is looking at matchups and also maybe not choosing the best team out the gate, because because another player chooses doesn't mean you can't. I can't wait to do our own so we can all understand this. Unfortunately, we have to wait for this current football season to start so we can do it.
And we have to build it too.
Yeah, well, that'll be done. I think that'll be done. I
But
think
yeah, you never
you
know.
know,
Everybody could pick the
You know,
Browns.
yeah, everybody picked the Browns. Technically, we don't need to wait. If we ran like some sort of simulation, like
yes.
we
Yeah.
so that we could in fact like run at least a couple weeks just to test. Um, yeah, honestly, you could just put Chat GPT, just like
hmm
give me week one predictions for the NFL. And then we just take those numbers or the win loss and select the teams or put the outcome in and see what it does.
Let's see if ChatGPT would do that. Who do you predict to win the
Or just be
first
like,
game of the
hey,
season?
yeah, pretend the first week's done. What
Oh,
scores do you
yeah.
predict?
Yeah.
Sorry, my neighbor's knocking on my window now.
But
All right, sorry, just texted my brother. So who do you predict to win the first game of the season of American football? This probably isn't specific enough, but
oh yeah, it just says feature. You might have to be like, oh, okay, simulate the games
yeah,
or
simulate all games the
first.
first
For week
weekend
one,
of
yeah.
games of the NFL for week one. Who do you? Man, if only I could type today. Oh, here we go.
Oh no.
Oh, here we go. Oh my
Oh,
God.
It
What
just
have we
says
done?
home team and away.
No, look right here. It gives you the
Oh,
specifics. And let's go ahead and split this. And we're gonna go to Gridiron. No, I want to split that.
yeah, the Browns win.
So they're saying first week is Chiefs, Falcons, Bengals. I don't know what order this is in versus. I just noticed Giants. So far,
Yeah,
they're all on
everything's
the left
off.
hand side.
Yeah.
Nope, there we go. Wait, this just okay. So this data is different than ours. That's evident because it told us to pick the Giants. Yeah, let's see the team matchups, but not the same. Interesting.
Yeah, I wonder if it has it wrong.
Or we have it wrong. I wonder where it's getting its data. But at least we know that I can do it.
Yeah, the schedule could change too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at some point, unlikely, but that also maybe that could be like preseason. I don't like it. It could depend.
Yeah, well, it's funny you mentioned the schedule changing. I just had an interview with someone, and they mentioned how they worked on like a sports uh, website or app, and the what was it? I think a game was canceled due to weather, and like there was an edge case that they didn't even prepare for whatsoever, and it just caused mass mayhem. So that's something that we should maybe try and prepare for. It doesn't happen often, but hey.
Yeah. Oh, I checked it. Our week one's right.
Okay, cool. The computers are wrong.
See,
This
ChatGPT doesn't know it.
is-
Don't know everything.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely interesting to think about. Just again, like when Shashi first came to me for this and explained it didn't make sense. And clearly it doesn't make enough sense to the rest of us that haven't played it yet. But you know, it'll be good to see, I think. Cool. So current focus this week for me is going to be the admin stuff, or this weekend, I should say, is the admin stuff. Alex, what have you got going on?
Yeah, so this week is mostly first, hopefully my PRs get approved, and a lot of my effort will be helping others with their bugs and stuff and PR reviewing to get a feel for the code and then reaching out to Shashi for some more tasks.
Sweet. Jason, what have you got going on? What's your focus?
Uh, I'm going to flesh out some more tickets. I've got to make sure the points look good, make sure that everybody has tasks to do. I know you mentioned why we split the teams up, and I think it's important to remember it was definitely because I mean we're behind where we wanted to be, and I
Mm-hmm.
think for us to get moving forward, because I think in reality the admin dashboard is probably one of the most important features. Like player access is important, but this whole thing came or was spawned from an idea of somebody that is an admin that runs
Yes.
leagues. So having that being accessible and working to the capacity that Rudy is looking for, I think is super important. We haven't even started it really till this week. So I think focusing a couple people just head down on this part of it is going to help us expedite that feature.
Mm.
Um, while everybody else is bug bashing and dealing with the other tickets that are in there, because that's been the focus. And again, we haven't looked at it. We just went like 3 weeks plus in between sprints when we should have had at least some of this kind of fleshed out. So, I think it'll be good. I think within the next 2 weeks, we'll have a lot of that already done while a lot of the other stuff is still happening. So I'm just going to kind of, as we've all talked, this is recreational and in everyone's spare time, but I'll be there to support and and give people the extra push that they need if they need it. So that's what I will be doing.
Yeah. Sweet. Yeah, no, I gotta say the tickets have been definitely more fleshed out, especially with details since you sort of jumped on the Shashi and doing that. So I know that's appreciated by myself and others.
No, yeah, thank you so much, Jason.
Yeah, if you guys ever have questions on that too, obviously you know how to get a hold of me. That's the easiest thing is just ask. I've been trying to give you as many pieces as I can without giving you all of it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I think it's tough to do even when you're helping someone with their code. You know, not just doing it or telling them how to do it, but sort of making them think how to do it, right?
For sure. And I
Yeah.
mean, in a real org, you're going to get a lot less on tickets usually. So
Right, right. You're gonna get less, and I think a lot. I mean, I would imagine that a lot of places of work. Up there's Jason. Bye bye. I think that a lot of places of work probably value some sort of
Yeah.
autonomy from others, especially from what I've heard of people that are in the industry. You know, they sort of get given their tasks, and then they're just expected to complete it in their 40 hours a week or whatever. You know.
Yeah, because I know like some places you won't have people that like understand tech. They're just like, oh, like I want a button to do this kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, especially when it comes to the sales team and stuff like that. I mean, that's why you have people that are assigned to maybe work with cross-functional teams.
Hmm.
But I mean, I even with my brother, you know, jumping on and Walter and trying to encourage him to just do. There's a lot of times where I am of the opinion that you should do first and ask for forgiveness later. You know,
Yeah, as
I
yeah,
don't
as
I don't
for
get stuck
forgiveness.
waiting.
I like doing that too, where I just like jump on and I just yeah, I'll take time to problem solve and think about it because I don't want to just waste time and just code not knowing what I'm coding. Like I'll think about it somewhat and then I'll just start coding and then if I run into errors, I'll be like, okay, like what did I do wrong? What differently can I do? And just from that alone, like I've learned so much than just watching YouTube videos and reading documentation.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's really important to I mean, again, we talked about it before how problem solving is just a skill we all have to build and have. And frankly, I don't know that you're going to get anywhere as a software engineer if you can't problem solve. It's
Yeah.
probably the number one thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like since I started, like before, I would be like, "Oh, I know how to do this." Like it's the same thing, but like obviously on a project like this, you can't just do like the cookie cutter approach because like there's so much going on.
Yeah.
And I've learned to like, okay, I get a task before I jump in and just start randomly coding things. I like take a step back, think about it, problem solve, figure out what I need to do, and then I start coding.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Actually, while we're still here, I'm going to stay on for a few more minutes. I wanted to uh, go ahead and take a look. I know adding redirect to login page to redirect users. So this was one of the uh, a fix or a bug fix actually that we were talking about earlier from last week's bug squash. Um, and so
Mhm.
Eddie supposedly pushed us along. So we added use router to the login page so users get redirected to league/all if they're already signed in. Adding unit test. Yeah, so this problem came about because uh users that were signed in were able to access the login and register pages, which just shouldn't be, right? Like you have
Mhm.
no need to be able to go there. So let's see. So here we're saying if logged in, push them to league/all. That seems pretty straightforward. And their test, I want to view their entire file. And I'll zoom in. Is there a text wrap on here? I believe there is. No, maybe not. Cool. So this is the test for the login page. Oh god, this is gigantic. I just want
Yeah.
to find their test in the scheme of things.
It should be towards the bottom because those ones are right mine. So Yeah, redirects right there is the test
Redirects
at
to
the
weekly
very
picks.
bottom.
Okay, redirects to leak/all when the user navigates to login. Yeah, but this is part of a. Where's the describe login? Okay. Use we're rendering login. Wait for expect mock push to have been called with leak/all. Um, I wonder if this right now is just testing the redirect from login to the
League.
league page when they're logged in, but I wonder if this needs to test if you're on leak/all and you're logged in and then you try to navigate to login or register, it should push them to leak/all, right?
Yeah, I know he has to test specifically that first it redirects to League when you log in. Then he probably has to do a test that like, oh, if I try to go from here to log in, like what will happen? Like I don't want that
Yeah.
to happen. And
Yeah.
could you do me yeah, could you go back to the code for login, scroll down a little bit? Oh,
Yeah.
and the last page.
Oh, you mean the one before? What the
Yeah.
difference is? Yeah.
Yes.
And you want the login page?
Yeah, the login at the bottom. Const router. Huh.
So like this is simple.
Oh, I had a brain fart. He's updating it on the login page. I was like, because when I decoupled the login function, like it already has like a router push to legal.
Gotcha. Gotcha. I think I'm going to leave a comment here asking for him to test when the user is logged in and
Hmm.
on the league page, right?
Yeah.
Realistically from any page once they're logged in. But can you add a test that checks if user is logged in and on league/all? Realistically, this should be or any other page only accessible when logged in. And they try to go log in or register, it redirects them to league/all. Does that make sense?
Yes, that does make sense.
Okay. Sorry, Eddie. I feel like so rude when I'm doing this.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things that's going to need to get tested because we don't want that to happen.
Yeah. I think I already reviewed this. Yes, I did. Okay. This is yours. Register redirects to login page when it should be. Okay, so this was one that were you good to go on this? You pushed the changes, right? Yes, you did.
Yep.
Let's look out. Register redirects to login page. Update weekly picks to league all. Update weekly picks to what does this mean?
So before the route used to be /weekly picks, and then I just had to replace it to legal.
Okay. Well, people type in register, it will redirect back to login. So I had a path name login so that would allow people to type in register and not be redirected. Okay, this was solved for my previous task. I adjusted the weekly pick. Okay, gotcha. So in the auth context provider, this is being done?
Yes.
If path name does not equal register. Okay, hold on.
Yeah, because before it would just push them to log in, but I had to add in that like, hey, like that's okay unless /register is the route.
If their session is not in local storage, and then inside there we're saying if the path name does not equal register, then push them to login.
Yeah, because basically what was happening is when you're on the register page or login page, like you don't have any local storage session.
Mm-hmm.
So what that function was doing is, hey, you don't have a session in local storage, so we'll just push you to login even though you typed in that.
Oh, yes,
So
yes,
I
yes,
had to update
yes.
it and be like, hey, like that's okay, but if it's registered, then like don't do that.
Yep.
And then yeah.
Cool. That's one. We did that. My add make pick. This was 2 weeks ago. Oh, I think she's still working on this. Yeah, she updated 7 hours ago. I have a review required from this one. Implement entry status indicators on league entries page. Let's just view this real quick. Users require visibility into the status of their entries to determine if they're still active within their leagues. Currently, there's no clear indication of the entry status. Okay, yeah. So this is something again that I kind of had already done, and it seems like it got, or maybe it just had to be hooked up to the data, right? Because I had just used props, but those props that needed to be connected to the database for the eliminated status. So entries that are retrieved and displayed on the entries that are still active as gotcha. So let's go back to the ticket. Status indicators and teams implemented a test to check if the entire entries API function returns all properties. Okay, this is out of date with the develop branch. Okay, so first he added eliminated as a boolean, which I thought would have been in here, but maybe not. Okay. See this entry data eliminated. This is the stuff that I wasn't doing. I was just basing it on the prop itself because all I had to do was create the UX. I wasn't doing the logic. And then here we're coming in. Oh, this is. So they're just
There's
logging. Why are
console.
they logging? Oh, okay. Here we go.
Oh yeah, no, he would always tell me to delete them because there's not really a point to have them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I remove them in my own projects, right?
Yeah. I think it's good to get that visual, but yeah.
Yeah, when you're like debugging locally, right? Okay, so get current entries, get all user. Oh shoot, I hate that. Get all user entries and test. It should get all user entries and check if limited is equal to true. Okay, so they just want to
Here.
get the entry and see if it's true.
Yeah, so yeah, it looks like he's mocking.
Just get in here before Shashi does.
Yeah.
um, const. I'm guessing this means response.
Yeah, Shasha will definitely tell him to completely spell that out because he doesn't want other developers to be like, I think it's response, but I'm not sure. And
Yep.
then like
Yeah,
second
he did that
guess.
to me last week. API functions get current user entries, mocking it to the first array.
Ooh. Based on that, API functions, can you scroll up?
Yeah.
Because I wonder if he has. I'm gonna have to look at that because I think in order to get that to work, he has to require API. Okay, he did.
Yeah, he
The
did.
third line. Okay.
I'm assuming this is down at the bottom. Yeah, okay. API functions, yeah, we talked about that. So this here, he's just getting the first user
Oh,
entry.
and then he's
What is
gonna
documents? I don't know what that's coming from though.
document
Right here. Oh, I see.
the response of the
Yeah. Const result, await API functions, get the entry. Okay, so we're waiting for we're storing the result here and expect result dot unlimited to equal false. Should get all user entries and check.
if
Okay,
false.
so he's just creating a dummy one here to say that it should equal false, just to ensure that it's
Yeah.
actually getting that, right?
Yeah, so he's mocking the user entries and he's checking if false and true.
What do
This
you
one,
think? Is this like sound?
looking at it, because yeah, he has a league selected teams eliminated as false, so he's telling the mock that, hey, this equals false in the database. Like he's telling the mock that, hey, this is what the database says, and then the response is him saying, hey, the document is basically going to be the user entries that I created.
Yeah, I think this checks out. I think this checks
Yeah,
out. We just need this to be alphabetized, and I need this spelled out.
yeah,
And
spelled out,
other than
and
that, it
then
looks
get
good
rid
to
of the
me.
consoles,
Get rid of the what?
the console.logs.
Yes. Yeah. Doesn't mean
Back.
response. Yeah. Where was that? Please remove. Just want to make sure I didn't miss any. HTML user entry isn't equal to false. Oh, I missed the true, but it's the same thing. One's true and one's false.
Yeah.
Uh, please. And what was the verbiage I used up here? Okay. Not bad, Carlos. Just need a couple of things. It's better work than I probably would have done on it. I wouldn't have thought to mock it like that. I haven't mocked in like, I feel like I've been away from test for a couple of weeks, so I'm kind of getting worried now. Like
I'm
I got to
the
jump back in.
complete opposite. I've been doing nothing but testing. Like a lot of what I've been doing lately is decoupling functions, which what that is going into the entire page of code and going, hey, I need to test a specific function, so I have to like extract it.
Mm.
And then so that way I can export it and just test that function. And then I have to
Do
make it work.
Did you push any of those yet, or can we take a quick look at that?
One of it was,
Is it
let's
in
see.
develop?
Yeah, it's in develop right now. So go to, let me see, go to, where is it? Context, and then auth helper, and then it's the login. So basically I had to extract it out and then pass in parameters, and then I had to define the types because of TypeScript. So that way I could import it specifically to test it, and then also I had to import it to auth context provider
Right,
to make
right.
it usable.
So here we're authenticating incident session state, user router and get user, the credentials, the router function, and the get user function, which the get user function is coming
Auth
from I
context.
from auth context.
Yeah. So I'm passing it in to login, but it's defined inside of auth context,
But where
which
are you importing that from in here?
you don't have to import it because, so if you go to the if you want to go back so I can like show you, so
Sure.
go to auth context provider and then scroll down a little bit until you see login, like const login. It should be down a little bit. Yeah, so right there, do you see how it's passing in user, router, and get user? So it
It's
knows
passing
what,
in user router.
yeah, and then
Oh,
it
right
calls,
here. Yes, yes,
yeah.
yes. Okay.
And then if you scroll down a little bit, like get user is actually defined right there.
Hmm.
So in a sense, it knows that like get user is going to be passed in, and get user is defined right there and what it does. And basically what the decoupled function does is it's kind of like by itself. It just knows that it's going to get past those three things, and it's going to know what to do with those three things.
Interesting. This feels like some voodoo magic to me. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, that that's funny because my last one that I did, it worked. I was like, I'm not sure why you specifically worked. Like, I didn't expect you to, because like I made a change and I was like, I doubt it's gonna work if I make this change, but I'll give it a try. And it worked. And I was like,
Yeah.
and I just pushed it and it just said voodoo. And
Interesting. All right. Well, the more you know.
But yeah,
All right, cool. Well, I think I'm gonna call it there. I want to go eat some dinner, and I got some plans tonight. So,
same.
anything else for the people before we go, Alex?
Nope, that's all. I'm gonna eat some dinner too and hang out.
All right, cool beans. Well, thank you for hanging out with me. Thanks to Jason for popping in. Thank you, Ryan, for hanging out. And there's the command. Make sure to support all developers named Ryan. Thank you again to our sponsors, AppRight, Front End Mentor, Get Kraken, and Pastel for sponsoring. Without you, this project would not be possible. And yeah, looking forward to the next stream. We'll be back next Thursday. Hopefully, more of the team is around. This is kind of a somewhat last minute put together thing. So yeah, Alex, thanks again for hanging out.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Alrighty, bye everyone.